It's E3, it's like Christmas for gamers, and 2015 has been one hell of a year. I'm joined by John from Avalanche, here to talk a little bit about Mad Max.
Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas indeed. And what a year it's been. But Mad Max is coming out in a couple of months now.
1st of September.
1st of September.
Yep.
So the movie obviously just kind of steamrolled over all the box office. But this game, it was originally going to be a tie-in, is that right?
No,
No?
never intended to be a
Never
tie-in.
intended to be a tie-in.
No.
You're a complete standalone.
Totally standalone.
Totally
So,
standalone.
I mean, I'd describe it as, it's obviously a huge open world action adventure.
Yes?
It's set in the post-apocalyptic universe that's made famous by the films. So there are links,
Yeah.
and we spent a lot of time making sure that they resonate in
Yeah.
the game itself. But it's a unique or original storyline, original characters, apart from Max and his antagonist Scrotus, who's
Yep.
part of that world, and an original world built like from scratch to rival the best open worlds that are out there.
So it feels like it's tonally, it's the successor. Like tonally, it's there. It's not
It's-
necessarily a direct adaptation of any particular Max storyline.
Not at all.
It's the tone and the feel of the world.
Yeah. So it's if you are familiar with Avalanche Studios games, one of the things that we think is important is to promote the world itself to be one of the main characters.
Yes.
So we spent a lot of time getting inspiration and sources from some of the movies, a lot of the lore of Max, stuff that's written about him, and we obviously want to faithfully represent that in the world, but it's a completely new setting,
Yeah.
new story, really cool characters. They're obviously reminiscent of all of they're quirky, they're unique, grotesque sometimes, deformed.
Is that a fun way of doing it? I mean, because you're not really under the pressure of creating something that's identical to what we know. You can leave your own mark on it.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of freedom to make a game. I mean, we can't make a game, or maybe you could, but it's not the Avalanche style. We really wanted to make something that is, you feel like Mad Max, and then you feel you want to explore a huge open wasteland, and you want to be the author of your own story. We don't want to force a story upon you. Obviously, the overarching arc is always the same for Max. He starts off insane, he gets close to humanity. The closer he gets, the more he brings disaster upon the people he's close to, and then he kind of whiplashes back to teetering on the brink of insanity again. So that's his arc, but the
Not
story...
a very heavy topic at all.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about the wasteland. So you've got this huge open space. How have you managed to sort of fill that and keep it interesting, things to engage the player?
Yep. So from the first moment, it will look like a desolate and sort of huge open expanse. But we started off, when we envisaged the world, we started off by building a real city.
Yeah.
So we have an oil refinery, which is Gastown. It has pipes leading to oil rigs that are in the sea bottom. The sea actually has a volcano as well. There's a industrial area that services the oil refinery, an airport close by, a financial district, bridges, and then we threw the apocalypse at the world. So a lot of it's covered up.
Yep.
The seabed is dried out. So initially, it will look like a sort of desolate expanse.
Yeah.
But if you take the time to invest in exploration and you look for the clues about how was this world built and how did it function, and you'll find things like sewers and subway stations and maybe even churches and diners and all that sort of stuff. So you can piece together how the world worked and what it would have looked like before the apocalypse.
It's kind of nice that you've done it that way, because it's not in a way where it's completely spelled out for you. There's a nice, there's a hint of mystery to it.
Absolutely. We
so
want
that's
to reward you for exploring, of course.
Of course. So how do you keep the player kind of engaged? And so, I mean, it is a big open world that's just dying to be explored, but how do you sort of steer them back onto the main story?
Yep. Well, we're not too aggressive about steering people. There are a couple of times where you'll want to hopefully re-engage with the main characters.
Nudge.
Yeah, exactly. But we're totally open to players kind of eking out their own trajectory through the open world. we have, the world is filled with both sort of main storyline related content and also tons of activities and encounters, random encounters. You can work the world, you can build up alliances with some of the people who are not affiliated with Scrotus. Scrotus is your arch enemy. You can build up alliances with those, and you can spend time just working and helping their stronghold. People get healthy, they start making car parts for you or building a water source so that you have food and water. So there's a lot to do apart from just, you know, seeing how Max's relationship with the main story characters evolves.
So let's talk about the main story.
Yep.
So Max is on the quest to build his magnum opus.
Exactly.
The car of dreams, the car to end all cars. How is he going to go about doing that in the wasteland?
He probably would have been fine just taking his interceptor and like getting out of Dodge, but he had a tussle with Scrotus and his war boys at the start of the game. So he's been stripped of his interceptor, stripped of his clothes, left for dead, and that's where you start the game as Max. And you basically have to, your journey is to look for a body. Luckily you meet a companion, the unfortunately named Chumbucket, who is a wasteland Blackfinger, a mechanical fanatic. And vehicles and motors and mechanic life, it's almost a religion to him.
Yeah.
So he helps you as the player, or Max, look for the basis of the vehicle that you're going to drive, and then you spend time turning it into a vehicle where Max feels, okay, now finally I have something that is powerful and sturdy enough that I can survive getting out of this area, and ultimately he wants some peace of mind. So the key thing that Max insists on having is a V8 engine rather than a V6, because he thinks he needs to be able to outrun any sort of terror that he encounters in the wasteland.
Yeah. So how does he go about customizing his car? Because I mean, obviously the wasteland's going to be filled with car parts, either obtained legally or illicitly.
Yep.
How does he go about adding them to the magnum opus?
Well, one of the basic mechanics is that he goes around and looks for scrap, and he enlists the help of some of these stronghold leaders.
Yeah.
So they are not willing just to give him charity, so he has to do things in return for them helping him further his car. But there are some project parts in the wasteland in some of Scrotus's camps. He can infiltrate camps, and he can find more valuable pieces. There are also, he can take down some of Scrotus's convoys, either from a distance, sniping, or tackle them head on if he feels he's got a powerful...
With the shotgun, surely.
Yeah, exactly. Shotgun is always there in the magnum opus, and there's a bunch of other weapons that you can use. The trademark Avalanche harpoon,
yes,
which you'll see in the footage
as well.
I
was going to say that was very well timed, because this is some of the vehicular combat, which you guys have been shouting about, and it looks great. How does it work? Oh, here we go. It's kind of got like a bullet time.
Yeah, so there are moments when we want to help you aim with some of the weapons. The harpoon is a powerful, versatile weapon. It can rip armor off. It can pull drivers out through the windscreen. It can pull off wheels like you see there. It can also be used to shoot thundersticks, which is like the pole with an incendiary device on the top, almost like a rocket launcher. This car also has something called side burners, which are two flamethrowers attached to either side.
Of course.
So there's a bunch of different weaponry. You see, I think you can see Chumbucket hiding in the back there. He's hiding now because there's a boarder trying to attack Max. Hopefully Max will be able to shake off the boarder.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Chumbucket comes back out, and he's going to help you. If your car gets in trouble, he'll climb onto the front and start putting out fires with his flamethrower or with his fire extinguisher. So, and all of that happens in the heat of battle. You saw some sparks there as Max has upgraded his car to include rims that can shred enemy chassis. And then you saw him using his shotgun and targeting a fuel tank that was on the back of an enemy vehicle to blow him up.
So how do you? So when your car is badly damaged, do you just take it to a garage and Chumbucket will fix it up?
Just stop the car.
Just stop the car.
And Chum will climb on the roof, climb out to the front of the car, and start putting out fires and tinkering with his toolbox.
So an interesting thing I read about is that there's a kind of risk reward when it comes to upgrading and customizing your car, because you might add one thing, but it will negatively impact something else.
You're extremely well informed.
I know, it's almost as if I did my research. No, I mean, so how have you been able to balance that?
Yeah, so when you go into the garage, initially early on in development, we had the garage was available as a physical location inside each of these strongholds. So as soon as you got entrance and made an uneasy alliance with a stronghold leader, you could set up a garage there and Chumbucket would add parts and so on. But just to enable gamers to experiment and try out different tactics, we've actually moved that to the menu system now. So from anywhere inside gameplay, you can bring up the garage menu, tinker with your car, try out different tactics, and you will see. So for example, let's say you put a massive ramming grill on the front of your car.
Yeah.
There are some statistics that you will see that will give you an indication on how it's going to affect handling and acceleration and traction and all that sort of stuff. So if your car is too heavy, you simply won't get any traction, and you'll have to find tires or an engine that will match well with that ramming grill that you've just installed.
Yeah.
So it's not about maxing everything out. It's about finding something that suits your style of play. You may want to build a tank that can just ram through everything, but that will have weaknesses when it comes to rocky terrain and being nimble and trying to, you know, you don't want to be a beached whale when you're getting attacked by a bunch of enemies.
Stuck on a cliff or something. So when it comes to infiltrating fortresses, are there different ways you can go about doing that? Can you stealth in, or is it, you know, shotgun first, questions later? Yeah,
there are. We definitely want to encourage the player to scout out locations. A lot of Scrotus's camps have pretty heavy perimeter defenses. Things like thunderstick launchers on towers. They have snipers. Some of them have back entrances. One feature I really like is the fact that if you pull the driver out of a car that belongs to Scrotus, get in that car
the old
and
Trojan
approach
horse.
the camp. It's much easier for you to gain entrance. There are civilians out in the wasteland that if you approach them right, you can get information about maybe there's a side entrance or a particular weakness that a camp or a top dog in that camp might have. So lots of different ways to work the wasteland.
It's great. I mean, and how big? I mean, it's the awful question: is how big is the wasteland? If you can give us a comparison to something like Skyrim, seems to be the standard.
Okay, I don't know how big Skyrim is.
Big.
But I can say, true to any Avalanche game, Avalanche Studios game, the world is massive. Our engine supports an infinite world, essentially. We have. You can basically choose a direction and just keep driving.
Yeah.
In our game, it gets more and more treacherous the further outside the sort of the main area of mission content you get. But it's big enough that whatever you see, you can go towards and interact with, and that's part of the game.
Yeah.
But it's also a sweet spot of ensuring that you have enough content to keep you engaged.
Yes.
There is a touch of mystery. We want to, so for example, another feature that we have in the game is picture relics, or relics from the old world. Some of them are photos, some of them are notes from people they've probably done just before the apocalypse. They're the remnants of the apocalypse. And again, if you explore, you'll find lots of, you know, treasure troves and hidden locations and interesting things about how the world's demise came to pass.
So you're anticipating a big, long Wikipedia full of all these secrets then?
That would be great. If some Mad Max game fan wants to put that together, that would be awesome.
So can you tell us when the game's out and when and which platforms we can play it on?
I can. Start of September 1st to September 4th, depending on the region. And it's out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
John, thank you so much for joining me. Cannot wait to play Mad Max.
My
I'm
pleasure.
Going to go try and hunt it down on the show floor later today. Make sure you stay tuned here at the GameSpot stage at E3. We've got so much more great stuff coming right up.